BYOB.
We are live. Let's go. Welcome back to the All Purpose Pod for an All Purpose Life, wherever you are and however you're listening to the Call Me Mr. Vita podcast. Thanks again for making us a part of your morning, your day, and your week with your weekly meal check, baby. Before you change the world, we got Travis in the house, Herb and Raj in the house. Raj is in the comment section somewhere, homie. See if we driving or at work. Bo's in the house. Good morning, fellas. How you guys today?
Great, man. How are you?
Here he is.
Yeah, doing well.
Hey.
Morning, of course, the obligatory roll tide. Are you copying and pasting?
It's actually just the signature line. As soon as he hits enter, that's what fills.
That would be amazing. All right, so how you guys? You guys good? Good weekend?
Yeah, if Travis is good, I'm good.
Oh man, I'm doing great. Yeah, you already know where I'm at. I mean, my body hurting because I'm getting old. You know, with this walking around SeaWorld all yesterday and then Disney on Wednesday. So it's been I've been getting them steps in, bro.
Disney.
I hear lemonade is good for what ails the body.
I heard it is too.
I heard about a cookout. You know, people that you getting invited to a cookout.
Yeah, to let everybody.
I drive around Jacksonville every once in a while now, so this ain't no problem now.
No.
To invite everyone else behind the scenes about
if you go to a cookout, don't drink the lemonade. That's what I learned this morning.
Now, Bo will have a hard time getting to Jacksonville, but I think Herb and I could. Well, Bo and Raj probably have a hard time getting there, but Herb and I can make it though.
Yeah.
Yes, we are going to invite the crowd behind the curtain. Yes, right before we started, they were going to ask me a random question off the top of my head, and I told them I would be in the lemonade, and I told them I'm not going to be invited to one of my barbecues.
You're all getting a random question. Everybody.
That's why you drink stuff that comes in bottles that you open yourself.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Come on, you don't. Same thing you doing San Juan. Come on, baby.
That's right.
It sounds like somebody's been scarred before in life. That's what it sounds like. You've been through something.
At least you got your steps in. I got very few steps in because I was sitting on a boat.
That's
out on a boat in the middle of the river.
In his stream in his backyard.
Nah, that's big enough. I was out
Rogers,
on the river all weekend.
Here you go, Raj. That was it. That was your green light. He was on a boat somewhere. So go ahead and add that to the list of things that we ate about Bo.
You know you're going to find me near water.
Has his own stream. Now he's on boats now and yachts and whatnot. So here we go.
Oh, it upgraded to a yacht. I mean, it was a pontoon boat, but hey.
Add that to the list of things that he does more than we do. So.
Oh, man. Next one, we're going to be on Shad Khan's yacht.
I mean, there's a lot of water here in Washington. It's pretty easy to find yourself near some.
Kind of far stretch. I mean, it's happening almost every week now, so it's like a thing. But, you know. All right, so as far as before we get into our daily slate of things to talk about today, what sports story nugget got your attention this week? Rapid fire as much as you can. What jumped out today? Well, today is Monday. Forgive me. But what jumped out this past week? It kind of had your attention. It could be sport we don't talk about. It don't matter. But what jumped out today? Sports story and nugget that jumped out for you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll go first. So our local arena football team. They headed down to Kansas and got the win. It was a 47-46 victory, and they come back this week for the final game of the season. So finally got my media credentials, so I'll actually be there for that one. So
we'll be there for that one, or just you?
I mean, if you get up here, I will find a way to make you my camera guy so that I can justify the extra pass.
There, I'm in.
Wow.
So, is your team going to be in some kind of arena league playoff, or
definitely
not? Not good.
Wow.
No, they had a rough inaugural season. They have 2 wins on the year, and hopefully they can stretch it out to 3. But that is not going to be enough to do anything but get ready for next season.
Abandon all hope. You enter here.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's a wrap. So now you're just out there trying to mess up other people's year, right? Yeah. So every game, spoiler game from here. So yeah, you try and finish the season on a high note with a win. And then, yeah, you retool, you get ready for next year, try and figure out what went wrong and what went right.
Well, here's one thing you can help us out with. Let us know when the league actually starts. We have no idea when it happened. We found out about it 2 days before the playoff. We have no idea.
Their marketing team was very similar to the WNBA. They want to protect the program from the fans.
Right.
You don't want nobody to come.
I swear somebody asked me about them, and I said, I guess they had stopped. And then when you came on and told us they were playing, I was like, oh.
I thought they were done too.
They want to grow naturally by word of mouth only, I guess.
Yes.
I mean, that's a rough way to go, but yeah.
Oh, Lord.
All right, before Raj and Trav jump in, Herb jump in, say good morning to Big Mike. He is 1/3 of the Thursday night triple threat.
Yes.
2 Thursdays a month. We talk professional wrestling and everything that goes with it. Good morning, big man. How you doing today?
He started going by Magic Mike, by the way. You have to ask him.
Magic Mike, yeah, I'm not going to do that part, okay? That part I can't do that. But,
okay. Well,
so Herb,
I'm gonna go with one that I probably would. I'm gonna watch one game and never have watched any of the season. But Edmonton forces a game 7 in the Stanley Cup Finals after being down 3-0. So, and I guess they're like putting up the stats. This hadn't happened since like 1949 or something. I don't know, some way long ago. I'll probably watch tonight just to see, game 7 and a probable game 7, having to win game 6 on the road and doing it. So I'm in for this. So it should be a fun atmosphere tonight.
That one burns me, man, because now I feel like, man, so what happened to the Rangers have won and played the Oilers? What would happen? So this is a tough pill for me to swallow, but that is an awesome stat for them to come back and force a game 7. All right, what else we got?
I'm sorry, game 5 on the road, not game 6. Sorry. Go.
Yeah.
It's really crazy when you think of the fact that Canada hasn't won a Stanley Cup in 31 years. And the last time anybody's come back from a 3-0 deficit to win was 84 years ago. Yeah. So, I mean, there's some records that could
be broken.
So Herb just admitted that the NHL stands for the No Herb League.
I assume he means that they're not allowed to.
Yeah, this is usually Roger's job to make comments like this, but now Big Mike is decided that he's going to tag team with Raj.
Yeah, Mike is president of the Raj fan club, so he coined that last year. So there's no surprise.
I've seen that when he comes on the show. Yes. I noticed it.
Yeah,
definite slant going on there, but it's all good. Nothing but love for you. All right, Trav, what you got, bud?
So for me, I'm probably going with this whole lawsuit with the NFL Sunday ticket subscribers versus the NFL. They're doing closing arguments sometime this week, and that's been a big thing that's just been on my radar for the last few weeks because it's kind of crazy. If you haven't been paying as much attention to it, it was basically the fact that the NFL has, they allow regular, television networks, public, whatever, the over-the-air television networks to carry the games, but then they also charge a quote-unquote inflated price for a direct ticket, Sunday ticket. And that, it was a lawsuit from 2015 that kind of got originally kicked out of the courts, dismissed originally in 2017, and then the court kind of appealed it, kind of reopened the case, and now it sounds like they're getting closing arguments. It's one of the first cases in as long as I can remember that the NFL actually took it all the way to trial. Like it's not something that they settled or was settled for a few $1 million, something along those lines. And if the NFL wins, then nothing really changes. If the NFL loses, I mean, you are legitimately talking billions with an S of dollars. That's a pretty big number. And the fact that it's actually going all the way and there's been 25 plus depositions in this thing. Hint, NFL owners, NFL people hate depositions. They hate that word because the NFL's finances become public. It's just a little bit. This is deep. This is a little different than we've ever seen. But it's because the NFL is quote unquote, purposefully inflating the price. I mean, capitalism. But it's just the weird little antitrust part of it because, again, you do offer it free, but then you black out certain ways, and then you try to make it so that you can inflate the price of this other thing by using something that should have been free. And it's just a weird little dichotomy that I'm not sure. And if you ask a lot of people in law, I live in law in my other job, like, how this would go, they'll tell you, hey, man, this is a coin flip. And for a few $1 billion, a coin flip ain't great.
True.
So I get why you're involved in this, because if you follow law and you're really deeply immersed. I didn't hear about this story, but you said direct TV subscribers during what years? I'm just trying to find out.
The years. That's a great. I'm not sure of the year's time frame because originally this lawsuit was filed in 2015. But if you want to bear with me a minute, I can get you the specifics. But they're saying that the jury could award damages.
We gotta go too deep.
It was quite.
Am I getting paid?
I don't. That's
No.
Give me a second. So they said the jury could award them anywhere from $7 billion in damages, but even up to $21 billion. So again, we're not talking small money. We're talking like big money. And yes, could you be paid? Maybe. I mean, I'm
talking about whatever it was that's owed to me. I ain't talking about no $1 billion. I'm talking about.
No. That's where
I had
here in the comments. It'd be 25 cents. That's what you're gonna win.
I remember being part of like the Yahoo one or one of those that came up there, and they deposited $6 into my account, and I went, "Oh wow!"
Right, book the cruise.
Yeah,
it's a class action because the original court kicked it out because it was an individual lawsuit and told him he needed to refile it as a class action. They didn't file it as a class action in 2017, so it applies to 2.4 million residential subscribers and 48,000 businesses, restaurants and bars that purchase NFL Sunday Ticket from June 2011 to 2023. So if you've had Sunday Ticket in that time frame, you most likely apply.
What's the years again?
2011 to 2023.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I had a ticket for 2 years during that time, but I didn't know I was getting robbed though.
There you go. So you might get $23, baby.
You may be entitled to compensation.
Could be 10 cents. Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, I get checked for 10 cents and stuff all the time. That ain't no big deal. I'm at 10 cents a day. That's the case.
Gonna send you a pack of Big Red and call it a day.
There you go.
Good morning, Mom. Always in the house representing us. Love you and thank you for your support. Unfailing. All right, Rec Room Sports. Good morning, my man. Says I'm pulling for any Canadian team until they get the cup. All right.
This could be that year.
Hope that works out for you. This is a good shot at it. Probably the best one I've seen in Canadian team. How many years now? Probably quite a bit since they've been in the running for this. Okay. Well, my story real quick is probably going to be something that we've already been talking about, but I watched the entire Fever and Sky this weekend. Only thing I can get in, couldn't get anything else in. That's all I could. So yesterday was a delight to get some sports in. Watched the entire game, top to bottom. I did flip during commercials, but watching top to bottom, that's an exciting. I guess I'll say an exciting sport because I'm assuming they're all doing this, but it was a very exciting game, nonstop, quarter to quarter, no breaks. It was just high energy the entire time. This Reese Clark thing is just getting further and further along. Next week, I want to get into some things about Andrew Reese specifically and kind of do some NBA comps, but that game was good. It came out to the wire. The Fever had a tremendous lead on them for quite a while going into the third quarter. Probably up by like 15, something like that.
Yeah, 15.
And I stepped away for a little bit and came back, and it was like totally changed. Reese took over the game, which is something that we've been talking about for a while that had not been happening as far as her shooting percentage. He scored 25 points. She was dominating on the defensive end, rebound-wise. She was scrappy going after the ball. She did fantastic. Clark had a great game, too. Moderate scoring, franchise record 13 assists, which is like good. I guess the question is, did all her deferring cost them the game? That's a question for another day, I guess. But it was a fantastic game, man. It was entertaining. I was pumped for it. I don't know how people wouldn't like it if they gave it a shot. If they had good marketing behind it. You know the game's going to start, when the season starts, when the playoff starts. It wouldn't hurt to tell the fans, but I think they would enjoy it. They saw what I saw yesterday, but Yeah. Any thoughts in that game? I know Herbie said you already watched it as well.
Yeah,
too, right?
the Reese Clark thing, probably way overstating, but it just feels like the NBA could ride this kind of like a magic bird thing just because of all the stuff coming from college till now. And it just seems like a big, like it's in the middle of the game, they focus on it. But outside of the game, it's just like, oh, here's another game, and NBA, when they had Sunday games, it was like here, you might have that early 12 o'clock game. Then you had your primetime game at 2:30. And then they had the other games come on afterwards. The WNBA puts on 3 games at 2 o'clock, and then their primetime game is 3. And they're just like, I hope that none of y'all has the WNBA pass and you're only watching this game. But if you're a WNBA fan of the it just seems like it should have its own thing, its own spotlight. And I would put these two players out there. I'd show their pregame interactions. I'd show their postgame interaction. Like I would ride that thing. And they just don't. It's
like they use their marketing for dummies book,
right,
and use it to level a table. Right? They don't even open that book. They're just like, you know what? We just hope things work out.
Yeah.
And I think, and I honestly believe that they're just choosing to go with the time slots that they just happen to be given. It just feels more like being run by a charity. Hey man, we'll take what you'll give us. Yeah. Like we'll take these slots. We know nobody else wants them, so this is kind of just where we are. And it's weird. But also with the Reese, with the Reese Caitlin thing, it just feels like these two are, to your point, the WNBA could absolutely ride these two because it feels more like a Tyson Holyfield match every time that they're playing, and one is obviously better than the other one, but that don't mean you can't lose. And it's just very intriguing just to watch them kind of go back and forth with this, physical basketball.
Yeah, and to Mr. Hughes' point, this game, it was a great game to watch. I felt like Caitlin Clark did, and I don't know how much analytics, like you said, maybe next week we go more WNBA, but I felt like she played a good game and took what was given to her. And there could have been more assists had her teammates knocked down a couple of the shots that were given or just not drop the ball when it came to them. There's at least 3 or 4 that come to mind where it's just bad. And then, you see some bad coaching. Caitlin Clark barely touches the ball on their last 2 possessions. You know what I mean? It's just stuff like that. But overall, I thought both of them played well. Reese, that was her best game out there. You could tell that this was one that she wanted badly, and that
line was impressive.
Yes. Well, and then to lead a team back from 15 down and you're not an outside shooter, that's usually a very, very tough. If Clark is down by 15, you said she brought her back. I'm like, well, I assume she hit a bunch of threes. For Reese to do it, I was very, very impressed by her game and her efficiency. So it was a good game. You
do feel bad for Clark a little bit because kind of in the middle of that game, her teammates had hands of stone.
Yes. Particularly in the first half. Yeah,
but honestly though,
Tony started playing basketball.
Oh my god!
Basically, if she didn't pass it to Boston, it was like a 50-50 shot on if the person got it and finished it. Yep. So I'm pretty sure out of the 13 assists, like 8 or 9 of them went to Boston. It felt like, and the rest of them, you're just like, please catch it, please shoot it, please. It was stuff like that. So.
Well, what shouldn't get lost on us is that the Fever they haven't been a good team in quite a bit. They've been drafting high the past couple of years for a reason. So I think we got to see what that reason was. They didn't look good.
Yeah,
they didn't look. I know, but they didn't look the same as this. They look worse. Everything they did was rough. I mean, the shot selection, it was just bad. And Kurt mentioned the coaching too. It's going to come to bear at some point by the end of the season. It's going to be talked about at the very least. All right, Rod got his nugget in. Roger's nugget. Oh, first I'll say goodbye to Mike. Thanks, Mike. Back to work. I hear you, brother.
Yep.
All right, and Rod jumps in with his sports nuggets. USA beats Bolivia. 2-0. All right.
Well, we had to beat
this is not is this a sports nugget that got your attention this week, Roger? Or are you just pandering right now?
Are you saying college football is not sport? Is that what you're saying?
Wow. No. What's it is? Huh. As a matter of fact, it's so much of a sport. I tried to talk about it last week and got smashed. We got time to talk about college. I'm down for it. I'm here for it.
Who smashed you on that? Not on this show.
Oh, it was on this show. But anyway, all right. So, question about Tom Brady.
I must have missed last week's show.
You were there. You saw it. You heard it. All right. So, just kidding, bro. But okay, so
Tom Brady. What are you talking about? We were already over time anyway. Of course, we couldn't talk about more things.
We had to touch that. We'll talk Trevor Lawrence today. We're gonna make up for it big time. But okay, so Tom Brady had a take on the quarterback situation. It was about a couple of months ago, I think. He seemed to come back into relevance again. But he was talking about how the position at quarterback has been kind of dumbed down. Love to hear your thoughts on that, because my follow-up question to that, if you agree with his assessment, is there a quarterback that's out there represents what Brady is talking about in regards to the position being dumbed down, or is there somebody who you think represents what the kind of NFL or the quarterback position that he wants to see in today's game? Did that make sense?
I'm just waiting for the Kyler Murray strays coming out.
I'm not. I don't know how he can be in any
playbook in a Madden game.
How can he? I'm surprised that his name wouldn't be mentioned in this. He's not even somebody I'm thinking about. That's you thinking about him in this? Because I don't.
If you're dumbing down a playbook, I mean, you're immediately what comes to mind is a guy that doesn't necessarily study.
Yeah.
Is a Kyler Murray would be one of the quarterbacks in that list of quarterbacks who would catch an immediate stray in this conversation. I have to agree, but it's not a Kyler Murray issue. It's actually a coaching issue that's you're seeing reflected on these quarterbacks. And what I mean is, I mean, we talked about this probably at this point. It might have even been a year ago, like one of the first times we met. Sorry, that's on to you. One of the first times we met, it was the conversation about the infusion of college football into the NFL. How they've been using all the college schemes. Like the NFL is now becoming more spread. They've been using all these college schemes in these NFL playbooks. And because of that, you're now getting these less developed quarterbacks from college coming to the NFL. So now they're doing a lot of half-field reads. They're doing a lot of just quick one. I'm throwing to my first read most of the time. And it's just making it easier on these guys. However, that means you get less developed quarterbacks when you're getting 4, 5, 6 years down the line. These guys aren't coming back to their third and fourth read backside and hitting a 10-yard or a 15-yard comeback. Like that's rare. That's more rare in these days in the NFL. You're not even controlling much of the protections now. That's falling on the center. So you're just getting these less developed guys. They may play better. They may be better statistically. But if you're talking about these guys actually shouldering the offense, you ain't getting a lot of guys doing that. I mean, he might be right. You might have 6 to 8 guys that's legitimately doing that in the NFL these days.
I wouldn't know who they are
because people take off and run before they get to that third read.
Yeah.
I think that real honestly starts kind of at the high school level and then just kind of trickles, I guess, up from there. You got a guy like that in high school who's faster than everybody. You're like, hey, hit this guy if you can't do it, take off. And the guy gets to college and they're like, all right, hit that guy. And if you can't hit that guy, then take off. And then you also have this situation now where the guys in college with all the movement and everything, they're, you can go 3 years in college and be in 3 different schemes. So you really don't have anything, there's no real development. They're basically like, let me do just enough to make myself look good, coaching wise, offensive coordinators. Let me do enough to make myself look good, scheme up a couple plays that hit some big things. So maybe I can get my next promotion and then you go to the NFL. And by the time you get to the NFL, that guy's not trying to develop. He's like, look, man, I need you ready to go right now. So I think it just starts at that level and just continues to move on and you get what we have right now.
So just one part of his comment that I'm really not surprised by that part. I actually wasn't going to quote it, but I'm going to go ahead and just quote the whole thing because you just better just quote him right.
Okay.
But I'll read the whole paragraph. Hold on. It says, I think it's been dumbed down a lot. I think it's just they're taking a quarterback position where you should have been the field general, should have had a real say on the field and contributed. You always had the last swipe at the pencil. I feel like the coaches now are trying to make it more coaching focused and just saying run what I call and get out there and be a robot and then ad lib if the play breaks down.
Yeah,
I think it's interesting because it's coming from him. That's somebody who we all have felt like during his time with the Patriots, especially when they had their big run, that he was kind of more in control than Belichick. Was kind of the narrative at that time that he was a big part of the decision making, plays that were being called, plays that were going to run, and that kind of stuff. For him to say that, it feels kind of heavy handed, but I think I get what he's trying to say as far as not. I mean, the coaches have to coach. I mean, I don't really know if
isn't that what you'd expect from an old head though?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Like you know, what I mean is like you talking to old Tom Brady who probably don't even remember what it was like his rookie and his sophomore seasons though. Like you talking to old Pro Bowl all pro Tom Brady these days who was like, oh that's right, I did stink at first. Oh that's right, I wasn't the greatest at first. I did have that Ben Roethlisberger type system
There is
where
a
it's
distinct
all
difference,
defense.
Yeah.
There's a very real difference from when he was a rookie to today, though, because they didn't have the mics in the helmets. So you now have a guy that's in your ear, and you have a guy up in the stands that's reading out coverages to you. So your ability to ad lib changes a little bit because now they can talk to you until there's 15 seconds left on the play clock.
Right.
So they can be calling those things out for you. So at that point, yeah, they may be like, hey, run what we're calling because we're seeing it from an angle you can't. Whereas when he was starting out, he didn't have all that. So as soon as that play gets called, he's standing there and he's like, he has to diagnose that defense. Now, if it's disguised, I mean, obviously you're still going to have, the ability to change a play, but you now have so much more input than you did then.
That has to be earned, though. For him to say it's one thing because if he goes to Belichick, and I've seen him on the sidelines arguing, I can only imagine. I have limited reading skills, but I can only imagine most of the time Belichick had an idea. Brady nullified this. You know what? No, let's do this. And they went with that. And because of his cachet and at the time that it has worked and his longevity and his career and his success, Belichick probably cool with that because he can trust Tom because he's seen him do that. But how does that work now with the question I asked about the quarterbacks that are playing today? Who has that ability? Who has that level of trust that they can be able to go out there and the coach is saying, run this. And they say, no, he's shaking them off. Say, no, let's run this. And you can trust them. Because right now, could be a Monday morning thing. I'm drawing a blank right now. So what quarterback falls in that category?
How many head coaches that are great offensive coordinators, not just the solid ones, not just the ones, the first year coordinators and first year calling plays, like, Brian Callahan, who hasn't called plays since high school. Like, we're talking real solid, who you would consider a top 5 to 10 NFL coordinators that's out there who would trust giving their offense, their baby, that they pretty much probably have confidence is always going to work, over to a rookie, sophomore, even third year quarterback who hasn't, already won a championship and just took the team on their back. Ain't a lot of guys who've done that piece, the second piece, to take something from this guy who's like, hey man, I know I'm dope at this. Just follow my system, like a Kyle Shanahan. Like, okay. I don't know a lot of guys who are gonna take audible authorization from like Shanahan.
Well, let me ask you some rapid fire questions then, since we're here. It's be kind of fun for us to go into this, and then we get into our AFC South Jacksonville stuff. But how about Patrick Mahomes?
Yes.
Can he? Does he have enough catching to decide stuff on the fly and go with that? And Andy Reid is good with it. Is he a thumbs up?
That dude's amazing. Yes.
Okay. How about Lamar Jackson? Is Lamar Jackson a thumbs up for this?
No.
Does he have the catching to decide on the fly? I mean, just tell me thumbs up, thumbs down.
I actually disagree.
So situationally, absolutely.
You can.
Yeah.
Who's Herbie said no?
I say no because I feel like he's still my list. I mean, it was going to be like Mahomes and Rodgers has probably earned that, and the rest of them. Like with Lamar, I still see the first read, second read take off sometimes. So I think he's still in that other category of I'll trust my legs. Like when you talk about with Brady and what he earned, he also was never a guy who was going to take off.
I guess I took that question a little different because I took it as the coach is okay with it, and their coach seems to be okay with him saying,
two different
go ahead
things.
And take off. So I think their coaching staff trusts him to make the audible into the run.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I guess the way it looks like maybe you took it is taking it into a different type of play. But
well, to that point, then I definitely don't trust Lamar if we're saying that he has that. And I saw the way that Chiefs game played out, and they never audibled into the run. So then I'm definitely doubling down on that.
So that was actually one of the few times where I thought that was the first time that I had seen the Ravens do things that they didn't do. Like they played differently than they played the entire rest of the season. Like they had lemon booty in that playoff game because they just played differently.
So are you saying
what I mean?
that they drank your lemonade and that's what happened in the game?
Hey,
Is that
bro,
what we're
maybe
saying?
they felt that stress. They felt that pressure, and it was
Hey,
like
they forgot how to run,
Yeah.
or that
that's what
runs
it was.
existed.
They had the opportunities and
That was-
simply didn't do it then. And had they done it, I think they would have been more successful. But
Right.
Yes.
the way I interpreted the question was, hey, do you have an offensive coordinator who's dope? No? All right, then cool. Yeah, then this quarterback probably has shown to be good enough to at least audible out of your play calls because you might not, you may be good. You're a coin flip also. Like you both are risk, but at that point he's good at least. So Lamar Jackson's good enough to be better than your play calling right now.
Yeah.
Whereas you have
I
like
got a
someone
few
like
more.
Mahomes who's dope.
I got a few more that I want to hear from you guys, and then we'll go ahead and jump into our AFC stuff. All right. So how about Brock Purdy?
No.
Yay or nay? No?
Not yet.
Jared Goff.
You know, I think they do give him some latitude. Yeah.
I think there's too many option routes to say he don't already have audible authority.
Matt Stafford.
Man, you think? Honestly, I don't think they give him that, even though they probably should.
Really?
The brainchild is the coach, man. That's what's making this. That's what's making this machine run.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm shocked. I'm shocked by that answer. I thought he would. Okay. How about Joe Burrow?
Oh,
Probably.
He should have it.
That was going to be my answer. Was a probably.
He should
like
have
I don't want
Does he have it?
Like that? Like that's not a for sure thumbs up. That's like a.
Yeah, exactly. That's the gladiator.
All right. Well, then the ones coming up, you have problem with the ones coming up next then because it gets worse. How about Josh Allen?
Actually,
he does. That whole offense runs on him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then OC's new.
Okay. All right. How about Baker? Bo's boy.
No.
He doesn't have it?
No.
Last year, I would say he did have it. This new year,
I don't know. I don't know.
I feel like last year he had it. That's why I'm asking.
Right. Last year, I think he did have it. This upcoming year, I think he's probably going to deserve having it because he's going to have a new OC, right?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I think he does have a new OC.
With a new contract.
This is not a trigger, Raj, but I have to ask the question. How about Tua?
I mean,
does he have enough credibility? You should not.
No, because he gets himself in harm's way when he does.
Yeah. There's a lot of plays where I think they have designed the play and Tua is looking at that first guy and going there. And it's half the time it's Tyreek Hill. So it's like you don't even know if we're reading anything else. So
exactly.
I'd say no just because of that.
Okay. Well,
I think he's just hitting X all the time because that's where his thumb's already sitting.
Yeah. And sometimes it's like crap, nothing. All right, let's see. I know there was triple coverage, but if I throw it out long enough, it's either incomplete or he'll catch it. So here we go.
Dang.
All right, so the last guy's gonna be who we're gonna be moving into transitioning. So we're gonna say Trevor is my next one.
No.
And then we'll go ahead.
I disagree. I think he should have it. I don't think he doesn't have it. I think he should have it.
Well, that's what I was saying is he doesn't have it.
Yeah, he doesn't have it. And that just falls on the coaching staff and the way that they run the offense. Had he had it, it'd look more like the playoffs and the late season 2022 season when they get into hurry up mode and they always play the best. That's just so happens to coincide when they're down by 21 points and all of a sudden they're in hurry up mode. They play great. And all the other times when they're on schedule and doing all these other things, it's always a little harder. I think he doesn't have it, but he should.
Okay, I want you to flesh that out. I'm going to lay out a couple more things that we're going to be talking about, and then we move into our last two NFL questions for the day. So I want you to flesh that out for me about why you think T-Law should have that. Talk about his deal, if you like to, the record deal that he had, Josh Allen deal, and then AFC South predictions. And also, by the way, I read the article that you posted this morning in regards to Trevor and the turnovers. So if you want to go there, I can give you some time to do that too. So if you don't want to, you ain't got to. But
I was interested in that article. I was like, I gotta come back.
I didn't realize this was.
I wrote it on Thursday, and I've been waiting to put it. I've been just nipping at the ankles for my producer to post, and he's like, just hold it up, wait until Monday, and I'm like, ugh. But you write something that you know is worthwhile, it's a true deep dive. You wanted to get out there, and so I'm happy that it's getting the reaction that it's gotten from a few of the people that's already sent me messages this morning. So yeah, it's a great deep dive on Trevor Lawrence and the national conversation surrounding who he is and who he's not with this, a lot of these it was normally driven by the national media guys and these fantasy football guys. But so let's talk to people who actually watch tape and let's find out who he is. But you get to your questions and I'll just answer as we can kind of move along with it.
Copy that. All right. So you said that you feel like Trevor T-Law should have that that cachet to make those decisions on the fly outside of what the coach is suggesting. And most folks said no in this group, but you said yes. Why you say that?
Yes. I say that mainly because we've seen the evidence. We've actually seen the book on it. And again, I go back to that 2022 season and even the earlier parts of the 2023 season. Like when they ran on schedule, even in the first half of the 2022 season, they struggled. First 8 games, they struggled. He had 10 turnovers and 10 touchdowns. Like that was the first half of 2022 that people just forget about. And it was only when they would get down 14 points, 21 points, and then happened at 5 different occasions, I believe, in 2022, where they came back from being down double digits and won all the games. It was just like, all right, cool. As soon as we're just running low on time, we don't have a choice but to give you the offense. It worked every time. Like legitimately every time, including the playoff game against the Chargers. So he's shown you if you would feel comfortable, Doug Peterson, Press Taylor, who I know you love your offense, you have your offense from Philadelphia. You've been known as this great play caller. If you feel comfortable giving up the baby to this guy, he might surprise you in the way that he's going to run it. And he did. And then you get right back into 2023, and you kind of go right back into the whole, I'm going to run this offense this stagnant way without motion, without as much trips and all these things that if you read The Athletic, a lot of football people, a lot of quarterback people who are out there have done deep dives talking about this, the way that the Jaguars ran their offense in 2023. Like they all said it was kind of stagnant. They needed to do better, more like the Miami Dolphins when they use these motions and try to stress these defenses and things like that. They just don't do it. They're just old school in that way. Trevor's shown you he can do it if you feel comfortable giving it to him. Just give it to him more often. Again, if he's pretty good at doing this and he's showing you the resume, he's a comeback king. If you get him down by a lot, then maybe do it more often. Cool.
Okay, so that's most of this is predictive, and we understand that part. So in the back of your mind, just want you to be transparent with us. Do you feel like this coaching setup has longevity in it, or do you feel like something has to change at some point in time soon for him to go where he needs to go as a quarterback and the team to go where it needs to go?
Ooh, that's a tough question because unfortunately the GM, the coaching staff and the GM are in lockstep and they're basically handcuffed together. So as far as the contracts for the GM and for the head coach, they're, they expire at the same time. Had Doug Peterson come in with a different GM, this might be a different conversation. But because Doug Peterson is with the GM that he is with, that's a true question mark. Because my biggest issue with Trevor Lawrence is not about Trevor Lawrence at all. My biggest issue with Trevor Lawrence, my biggest issue surrounding Trevor Lawrence is the surrounding talent, and that's a GM building. That's a roster building problem. Like his quote unquote NFL leading turnover issue. If you're looking at the tape, there's a legitimate argument to be made that more than half of his interceptions are from just lackluster talent. Tip balls coming off of his ball hitting his running back in the face mask and going 3 yards upfield and going into a defender's hands. Like it's a comedy of errors. If you look just in 2023 and his interceptions, literally 4 of his 14 interceptions were his fault. And the rest of them is just like, what just happened? And you can do the same thing with his fumbles, which is just crazy. So again, take a look at the article on BigCatCountry.com. Does Trevor Lawrence have a turnover problem? It's a deep dive. It's supported with video evidence. It's supported with advanced stats, etc. Like I'm telling you, it's just weird that anybody with the label fantasy football in their title just box score watchers basically, and they're just saying, "Hey man, this dude sucks. This dude stinks." I mean, dude, does Urban Meyer exist? Like, do we forget that 1/3 of his career right now was just with the guy kicking the kicker out in the field? In the beach, in the bars in Ohio, didn't even ride back with the team. Like all of this stuff, that's 1/3 of his stats. Come on, man. Like have common sense. That's all.
Whatever quarterbacks, and this is something that's close to home for me, but when quarterbacks are discussed about having issues with turnovers and fumbles and whatnot, sometimes, and not every time, but sometimes you point to the O-line as the reason why that might have happened. It could be confusion up there. It could be a lack of protection, things of that nature. In this particular case, because the Jaguars spent, I forgot the number. We talked about it on this show for sure. It's in the archive somewhere. how much money they spent on the O line. It was a big smash. Like, oh, wow, they got so and so, they got so and so. It was big money. How do you feel about that relative to the turnover issues that you're talking about?
Yeah, and PFF at the end of the season ranked their O line as 31st in the league. So that should tell you. So again, this is a roster building issue. It's not to say that they haven't tried. I will give Trent Baalke and Shad Khan credit. They spend money. They do. They will put the resources behind it. So Shad, good job in being willing to put your check where your mouth is. But the people you have in charge of writing these checks, I mean, they getting scammed by these Bitcoin artists. Like I don't know what to tell you. Like they are. It's the choices that are being made aren't always necessarily the best as far as roster building. So the interior of the O-line specifically has been the biggest issue. The center and Luke Fortner, who was been bad for 2 years. He was literally a bottom 3 center in the NFL for the last 2 years, and they didn't bring anybody in going into the 2023 season, and he got worse. He ended up being 33rd. There's 32 teams. Like, he was worse than even a backup center or a secondary center on someone else's team, basically. And well, now they brought in Mitch Morris, so that's great. That's potentially going to be an upgrade for Trevor. He finally might have a legitimate center in his first time in his career. Internal pressure is the worst thing for a quarterback, so that's awesome. We still got questions at the guard spot necessary. At the same time, they have Ezra Cleveland. They gave him a big contract this offseason. We don't know what that's going to shape out to be, but we'll see, I guess. He was from Minnesota, I believe Dalton Risner ended up taking his position in Minnesota, so they ended up trading him last offseason, last trade deadline, I should say. But he didn't play as well last season because he had injury. So that's a coin flip. I don't know how that's going to go. So hopefully Trevor may have less interior pressure, but I mean, hell, he might. It might be equally rough, just with a slightly better center. I have no idea how that's going to go. I hope it's Bell. But so they're spending money. To your point, they're spending money.
Yeah.
But does it matter if you still have a rough line? Great. I mean, may as well save that money and just
I'm
roll up
shocked. It looks like Christian Kirk is like the number one highest paid wide receiver. I remember him from other places. I'm like,
he's not highest paid. I think that man might be like 18th in the league or something right now.
His cap hit is the highest. It's like $24 million. It's more than
wait. You can't blame him for cap hits. Cap hits is structure.
That's not, but somebody gave him the money, though.
yeah.
Somebody gave him the money.
Right.
My question is, why did you do it?
But that's like saying, hey, man, I'm paying you $1 this year, but because it's counting as $30 million on my cap, I blame you. No. I didn't do it. That's my accountant. Like, you got to talk to Trent Baalke on that.
My accountant.
I'm just saying people who paid him decided to pay him. I'm not putting it on Christian Kirk. I saw him play.
His average per year is I think it's like 18th or something like that in the league. Like, it's not bad at all. Everybody went crazy talking about it at the time, and then they were like, "Oh, that looks like a discount now," and it is a discount if you look at what he's giving them. Right. The market says what it says. The cost of a house is the cost of a house. I might not want to pay $1 million for a house to live in LA, but you know what? If that's what it costs, that's what it costs.
What was your thoughts on Lawrence's deal? My Twitter page has a lot of stuff going on it regarding that at the time. I didn't really have much of an opinion. People try to make me feel something, but I love to hear your thoughts on what you thought about the deal. I know 5 years,
folks love to feign outrage, bro. Folks love to pretend to be mad about stuff that they forgot about the next week. Like then they mad about this Trevor Lawrence deal because it says the same number, 55 million, that Joe Burrow's deal said, and they're like, well, he's not Joe Burrow. I mean, Joe Burrow ain't playing great either. But and not to mention Joe Burrow had Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. I can legit make the argument that none of the Jaguars wide receivers come to the level of T. Higgins, or at least you might say Christian Kirk, T. Higgins might be a good comparison, but that's their second receiver.
I'm not saying that.
I'm saying even if someone wanted to make that argument, that's kind of my point. One guy is throwing to these two guys, and one guy was throwing to Laquan Treadwell at one point. Like what are we doing here? What are we talking about?
Burrow's only available half of the time.
Yeah, so like, what are we talking about? And then if we're talking about actual like percentage of the salary cap, when Joe Burrow signed his deal, it was 24% of the salary cap. We forget inflation burst. Like, inflation's a real thing. The price of bread in 2000, in 2002 ain't the price of bread today, baby. Like, you know what I mean? Like the price of.
Are we making the case that Trevor Lawrence is worth it, or are we making the case that Joe Burrow isn't?
We're making the case that the money, the solid number is what it is, but the money ain't the same as what it was. So his 55 million and Trevor Lawrence's 55 million ain't even the same, because his 55 million was 24% of the salary cap, whereas Trevor Lawrence's was 21%. Like, so he's actually taking a discount, and his guaranteed money is significant lower.
I just didn't hear the word discount. My everything just cut out. I didn't hear the $55 million discount.
$55 million discount.
Yeah,
where do I get that at?
I need those kind of discounts.
So I'd assume you feel good about the Josh Allen deal too. Then
the Josh Allen deal was a weird one, man. That was so weird because he's such a good pass rusher, but he's also had his own injury issue in his second year. He's also had the issues with the inconsistency. Like, he's normally been around that 7-sack guy outside of that rookie season, and then he just explodes in the one season he happens to play against a lot of backup quarterbacks, a lot of rougher, quarterbacks in the AFC South. I'm just calling a spade, and then he's one of the top pass rushers in the league. I believe it was top 5 in sacks. I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me, but somewhere in that range, basically. But then to have the contract that he ended up signing was weird because it had a pretty good amount of incentives in it. For, hey, if you hit this number of sacks, if you hit this number of All Pros, number of Pro Bowls, that you don't see in a lot of the big guys, when the big pass rushers, that's not something that's normally in there. So that's probably why they had to end up franchise tagging him, because they can't come to agreement on, who are you? Are you this guy that just exploded in this last season, or are you the guy that we've seen for these other 3
for
seasons?
second this past year?
Pass for second. Like, it's even better than I thought it was. Lord. All right. Yeah. So, like, which one are you? And there were some original rumors that Trent Baalke, who didn't draft Josh Allen, was not a believer that he was a number 1 guy, thinking that he was just a really solid number 2 guy. And if that was true, well, then the dude explodes this offseason, and now you got to pay him.
Yeah,
that's going to lead to some rough negotiations. So it was a good deal for the team, but there's still questions, man. He's going to have to do it again, and hopefully again and again and again.
So last question on this, the AFC South predictions. Now, you want to be a homer? Go ahead and be a homer, baby. This is a safe space.
Bro, you already know I am not a homer, but this is a weird thing to have to ask me, because it's going to come across homerific, if you know what I mean. It's going to come across a little bit. As a little biased, but sight unseen, since we haven't seen what the changes are going to look like in Tennessee with the new, whole new staff. We haven't seen anything as far as the Texans. Like, we've added guys, but they have a significantly harder schedule. They went from a bottom 4 strength of schedule in last year to a top 5 strength of schedule this year, but they've also gotten better. How is that going to land? Especially when people actually have tape of them and have all offseason to hear.
You also had CJ running his mouth the whole time.
I was just about to say it. And they also have their quarterback who just can't shut up. He's in all the barbershops. He's in all the clubs talking about how he was so much better than everybody else. That's probably not great. So yeah, sight unseen, I'm probably going. Oof, it's gonna be a close one. It's gonna be a dogfight of division. It really will. But I do believe the Jaguars are going to end up winning this division, though. I think it might be a game, it might be a half game, but I do believe the Jaguars actually will win this division. And I promise it's not a homer take. I tried my best not to say what I'm saying right now. I really did, but nah, man, I do believe the Texans will take a step back, and I believe just based on that, 9-8, 10-win season probably is going to win the division. I think that's
that a couple of times now. I wonder what people are thinking that. Herb and Bo, what do you guys think about the prediction? AFC South. Who do you like there?
Yeah, I mean, I think the win total is right. I think I think the Texans probably get you done there, just because of the weapons that they have. That being said, Stroud's in for a tough year, because I think he's writing some checks he's not going to be excited about cashing as this season goes on, because there's going to be a lot of teams, especially on the defense that he was clowning on, that's going to have this game circled. So they may be willing.
I feel like I'm behind it. Y'all guys are ahead of me. I'm behind. I haven't heard him say a word.
Oh, he's been in a lot of podcasts.
Yeah. We've talked about it. We've talked about it on one of the two, on the Monday or Wednesday show. So we've talked about the CJ Stroud stuff.
Yeah,
I didn't think he was the type to be.
Yeah, no, he's said a lot of things on different shows, so it wasn't even like a one-off. Like he's come out on multiple shows saying stuff that.
And there's somebody on the Colts that he's like somebody on the Colts he's like specifically going back and forth with too,
Yeah.
or like with the linebackers. They're like already a little rivalry. So
I mean, and if you do enough of that, the guy that's coming across isn't worried about a 15-yarder.
Thank you.
He's coming to pop that helmet off your head.
Yeah, what's 15 yards, baby? Like, come on.
Right? I'll take that $50,000.
Yeah, if you're out of the game.
Yeah.
Wow. You stepped my game. All right, so Herb, how about you?
Well, I'm going Texans still. I mean, because that's also a team I root for too. So I'll go with Texans.
Oh,
but
is it? Okay.
Now that's subject to change at any time. I'm a college guy, so if you like trying to engage me on the history, I'll be like, I don't know. They got Will Anderson last year, so I started rooting for him. So,
I was about to say, you look like a guy that made some good decisions, man. I don't know what happened to you. Like, Lord.
In my defense, I was left unsupervised.
So right now, correct me if I'm wrong, Herb, but you said you like Texans and you like Philly, right? That's where you're at right now?
Yeah. Okay. But they're like one or two trades away from both of those teams being off my list. So I like Jacksonville when they had Ridley, and then he's gone. I'm gone.
Well, it's so weird. Everybody seems to love Jacksonville when they had Ridley. Like, this is weird because PFF had like this whole big thing that we had to post it just on Friday. PFF ranked the Jaguars receiver corps 25th in the league, right? And I'm like, oh Lord. All right, wait a minute. But just let me go back to last year. Last year, you ranked the Jaguars receiver corps as the 5th best in the league because they had Ridley, and you expected Ridley to be the 84.7 receiver that he was in 2020. Well, that's not who he was, though. Calvin Ridley was a 71 last year. So we just lost a 71. And you're saying that this team's going to get worse picking up a guy in college who was like a 75. I don't get y'all logic, bro. Like, what's happening here?
You're going way too deep.
Nah,
Ridley went to Alabama.
Is that what it is?
All that other PFS, like you went way over here, and I'm trying to tell you, come back right here.
We're talking about PFF. That just means that stats are whatever you want them to be.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for that, because I was all in my feelings trying to understand where's the logic here.
Hey, we can't. Y'all have these feelings saying like I'm not going to talk Jags anymore on this show.
Oh, you think? You think this is based on feelings? I'm talking about these are deep dives, bro. This is all facts.
You literally just said you had.
When you look at PFF numbers,
you literally like these are the words coming out of your mouth.
Now, when you're PFF is always tough for me because sometimes their grades you're like, okay, yeah, that makes sense, and then other times you look at them and you're like, what? What were you smoking when you came up with this number?
I can make some of it make sense though, but I get.
Raj said that Herb makes a lot of bad decisions. All Herb was kind of saying it felt like was that he's rooting for somebody from Alabama.
Thank you. Yeah, that's it.
So all right, that's a different way of looking at it. You saying that Herb making bad decisions by following Alabama?
Yeah, so it turns out Raj is right.
Wow.
Gotta lay off them Alabama players.
All right, let's jump into our first two NFL questions before we show. All right, so I asked you guys a question. I think I put it out as a poll question, but not really sure. It's been a wild weekend. But which of the projected 5 bottom teams, which you can dispute whether that's true or not, has the best chance at a ceiling of being middle of the pack in the NFL rankings? Here are the 5 teams: Raiders, Broncos, Panthers, Giants, Patriots. I want them again: Raiders, Broncos, Panthers, Patriots, and Giants. Now they've been projected as the 5 bottom team. Like I said, you can dispute that. It could have changed since the time I saw this. I saw this 2 weeks ago. So these empowering don't really mean much because they haven't played any games. They're making all-season moves, but nothing's actually happened. They're in shorts, so nothing's really going on. But this is just a funny question. Which of these 5 teams have the best chance at a ceiling of being at least average? Somewhere in the 14, 15, 16 rank realm in the middle of the pack of the league. The Raiders, the Broncos, the Panthers, the Giants, or the Patriots.
A ceiling of middle of the road? Probably the Raiders.
Why?
Being the highest they can get is middle of the road? Yeah. I mean, when you look at their roster, they have a lot of holes. I don't believe in their quarterback room, but at the same time, they have a good enough team. They have some elements on defense that could propel them to some wins. So, I mean, they could be a middle of the road team at best. I mean, they're going to have a hard time just getting through their division. So being an elite team really isn't on the table for them. So, yeah, I mean, they're going to middle of the road is probably about as good as they can be.
Okay, now out of this list of 5, I said the best chance at having that middle of the pack reckoning, and you think the Raiders out of all other teams have the best chance to be the best of these 5 teams is basically what we're asking.
Yeah, you got a Giants team that is minutes away from a rebuild. You are looking at a Broncos team that has been a dumpster fire thus far, so it doesn't inspire confidence. The Panthers are going to be terrible again. And then the Patriots are also in a tough division that, again, I just don't trust what they have. They have more holes than the Raiders do, so I give the Raiders the nod here.
Okay, anybody else?
You want to go?
Next.
Oh no, I've already made one person upset this morning.
I'm
gonna try and ride the last 5 minutes out till.
That's right. Let's keep going, man. What you got, Herb?
Okay, that's fine, and I'll save my giant slander for the next question. But yes, I'm. It is none an option.
Exactly.
If none's not an option,
yeah. I'm sure it is. I mean, they can all not be middle of the pack. It can potentially happen.
None is my
and they
preferred
say they all
choice.
think that anyway.
But if I have to have a real answer, it's going to be either the Raiders or the Broncos because they just. But they also both have to deal with, like to Bo's point, they got to deal with the mutant Mahomes twice a year. So that makes it a little rough. Just to start off, but you have the option of having Minshew Mania in Las Vegas. With the 8-0 O'Connell, like he did okay to just manage the team and not screw it up. But at the end of the day, Minshew Mania gives you the option it gives you a chance to steal a few games out of nowhere. Exactly. And because of that, and having a solid defense, I'm probably going that route over, projecting an early coming out party for Bo Nix in Denver. So that's probably my choice too. When you said Raiders, I'm kind of in agreement with you, Bo.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. All right, Herb, how about you, bro?
Yeah, I'm going Raiders.
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
I'm just here so I don't
Smart
get
shine.
Right, okay. Why are you picking the Raiders? I'm cool with the clean sweep. Why you
the same points that they've already been made. You can eliminate 2 of these teams completely. Broncos were up and down, and if Bo Nix gets out there, I'm thinking, I don't really know. So Raiders, like I said, if with a solid defense, if they get middling quarterback play at sometimes, they'll be. It's not like we're fighting for a great prize here. We're talking about middle of the pack. So which of these teams will just not be terrible? Yeah, I'll go with the Raiders.
I mean, that would be called improvement. I mean, if you're at the bottom,
I mean, I guess
that's great. It should be something to celebrate, not spit on.
I mean, they are, but they're probably still also one move away from a full rebuild. So you're flipping a coin on how they do. Them going to middle of the pack is probably not the best thing for them this year. So,
okay. I don't have anything from Roz. So I guess we'll keep the train moving. All right. So we got our 5-pack NFL questions. These have been really fun and very, very challenging. I'm tempted to make one little adjustment, mid game adjustment. I ain't gonna do that. I'll just let it be what it is. But next week you'll see one change because something we talked about in pre-production about one of the options. But we'll go ahead and stick with it for now, just to keep it simple. Since you guys did all your homework already. All right. So our 5-pack question usually works like this: we got 5 categories and 5 teams. Only pick one each team once. Excuse me. So the first one is winning the division. The second one is being dead last in your division. The third one is winning the AFC, NFC. The fourth one is playing in the Super Bowl within the next 3 years. And the fifth one and last one is a full rebuild in the next 5 years. Full rebuild in the next 5 years. And the teams are the Washington Commanders, the Tennessee Titans, the Los Angeles Chargers, the New York Giants, and the Seattle Seahawks. So we got the Commanders, the Titans, the Chargers, the Giants, and the Hawks. One team per category. All right, we got Roger's answer. Real quick, while you guys are thinking about it, I'm still gonna ride with the Broncos. I think Bo Nix makes some magic happen. Okay.
Yeah, ain't gonna hate it.
All right, so these 5 packs are always fun. Makes us think we had to dig deep to get some of these answers.
All right.
I feel like I've been talking a lot. I was trying not to, but I got it. The homework's done.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll start with the rebuild, which is the Giants, and I start with that because I already said it.
Yeah.
So Giants rebuild in the next 5 years. Okay.
Yeah, well, only because they're already on that path. So I'm going to go with the Giants on the rebuild. I'll go with the Titans are dead last. I'm going to go with the Commanders win their division because this is over the next 3 years. So in theory, we'll hope to see something. And again, obviously, some of these categories may never get achieved. But the Chargers, I think we could see in a Super Bowl. They have a lot of elements. Now they have a coach. And, of course, they have their franchise guy. And then I could see the Seahawks in a championship game, as this division starts to fall apart.
I'm with you on at least 2 of the 3, then. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
The easiest one to me was like the Super Bowl Chargers, just because of the quarterback situation and the new coach and identity. Out of the 5, that was the first one I did. And then the rest of them took me like hours. So that's the easy one. Washington feels unfair because they've already been last in division and they're in the middle of a rebuild. But I still gave them just the last in division just to slot them into something. Just I was like, I had to give one of those 2.
Okay.
And then I guess since I'm going to make half the panel mad already, I put the Giants in the rebuild just because I don't think they figured out the quarterback situation, and I don't think they want anybody who's coming up next year. So I could see them going rebuild. And then it was just like kind of a flip a coin. Seahawks win the division, and the Titans in the AFC, but you could flip flop those because I do like the points. So the Seahawks was almost like a win the division or in the because I could see them like Metcalf trade away from like starting to go into a rebuild. So it was kind of like I didn't know which direction I felt like for the Seahawks. So it was like, let me flip a coin for them.
Okay. That's all 5.
That's all 5.
You lost count when you said Giants. I blanked out. Okay.
I know.
So going.
It's at the end of the hour, so I can like just dip out of here in a minute. So
I'll start with my one that was probably the hardest one for me, at least.
Bo, are we still cool, Bo? Just before you start, are we good?
No, there's tape.
Oh, okay.
You got game film on you. You're gonna circle on that matchup on the calendar. Okay. So the hardest one for me was probably just winning the division because I was stuck between the Commanders or the Seahawks. And I shouldn't be stuck because the Seahawks are obviously in the division with the 49ers. Like that's a very difficult thing, but at the same time they still were 9-8 in a down year last year. Like that's a close one. But I'm probably going to give the edge to the Washington because they have the easier route between the 2 of them at least. And do I really believe in them in that way? Nah. But that's the easiest decision in my opinion, at least here between all of these. Like I have questions at the quarterback and I have questions on defense for Washington, but they do have the right guys at the skill positions to potentially be able to score early. So I kind of had to give them the edge there. To be dead last in the division, I think it might be a clean sweep at this point. No, it's not because I think Rod said it's going to be a rebuild. I put the Giants. I actually believe in their coach, but Daniel Jones is an anchor dragging down that whole team. And I don't know if it's going to be a 3-year rebuild. I think it's going to be a 1-year rebuild. Like, I think at this point, we're already in it. And it was just slowly realizing that the ship is sinking. Winning the
There's
AFC,
a hole in the side. They got a little kid bucket.
Yeah. It's not hitting an iceberg. It's more of just one of those, somebody's absolutely sabotaging the ship. But it's going down. Then we got the AFC NFC championship. I'm going with the Seahawks, but it wouldn't be as a division champion, more like a wild card team. I feel like they're scrappy enough bunch to do something like that. Just getting in there and just kind of finding a way to win it. Playing in the Super Bowl. Now I think that might be a clean sweep, but I think we all chose the Chargers. And you got the quarterback, you got the coach. I mean, I believe that you have the coach. Yeah, and you're probably going to lean on the offensive line, build that up. We actually maybe give him a running game. Yeah, I think that's a solid situation to talk about running the Super Bowl out of this group. And full rebuild in the last 5 years, I'm going Titans. I know everybody else is really high on this receiver core because they're so good. They're so old. That's what everybody's missing. Like this is a good receiver crew. The Titans are set up for a rebuild right now, and nobody's even paying attention to it. They have one of the oldest receiving cores in the NFL with easy outs over the next 1 to 2 years, and literally all the contracts.
Yeah, the rebuild should have started like 2 years ago. I've said that a lot about the Titans.
Yeah, so like it's a new GM. I mean, the reason they fired the coach was because the coach and the GM didn't agree on what the future of the team should be, and now he's slowly pushing some of the older guys out while trying to get new guys in. This is a rebuild that nobody's calling a rebuild, and they're just trying to verify if the quarterback's good.
Right. Well, I think that was my problem with them on the rebuild is they couldn't make a decision. And it was like, you guys are clearly have the pieces. You should have gotten rid of Derrick Henry, get anything, and start the rebuild. And they were just like, yeah, let's just ride this to the. Oh, we're at the end. Oh, crap.
Yep. And that's why I didn't have them as a rebuild in the future because they're already in it.
They're in it now.
Because this is over the next 1 to 3 years, right? Is how I read this question. Right. So it's not like they're going to double rebuild, right? They're already rebuilding. So that's why I have them as dead last.
So maybe I talk to too many Titans fans. That's my problem. They don't believe they're in a rebuild because of the great receiver core.
Yeah,
I mean, Giants in the rebuild too. I mean, I don't know if you can see that. We were in it too.
I didn't know that. See, I didn't know that piece. I didn't know if I consider it one.
I mean, after the season that we had, that was the so-called good one, that we probably shouldn't have had 2022. We're in a rebuild. What do you call it when you give away your best wide running back and a whole bunch of other stuff? You're doing that. You rebuilding, whether you say it or not.
At least they're attempting. The Titans weren't even attempting it. They just kind of ended up in it. And
they just ripped it all down, and it's like a forced rebuild. And next year is going to be the real start to the Giants rebuild when you get off of Daniel Jones' contract. Like that'll be the true start to that rebuild. Whereas the Titans are like, that's where you walked in a room and you're like, oh, I guess I'm in a rebuild. Yeah. Like, I didn't mean to be, but turns out this house isn't built. So,
all right, well, this was fun. I'm gonna primal scream after we get off air. But beside that, man, thanks for coming in, guys. It's been awesome. You guys got a few things to do, other shows, other things to go on, but great show. This was really fun. You guys have been following. If you haven't been following Travis Holmes on X or on Twitter, check out BigCatCountry.com. His article is out there. It's really good. It's about Trevor Lawrence and the turnover
problem
controversy, if you will, the problem, quote unquote. There's some good work out there that Bo has with Football Talk with Bo, and the Coach to Coach Sports is coming up pretty soon on Roku shortly. And Herman Rogers podcast, of course, you can find them every Tuesday evening. 8 p.m. CST. They're rocking college football. They're experts at that. They talk other stuff as well, but just enjoy that for the college football content and more, just for the entertainment value. It's really fun stuff. So thanks for coming in, guys. Really appreciate it. We're signing out, man. So enjoy the music. Coach out, guys.